Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams.
We're your hosts, Stephanie.
And Alex.
This week we put on a little show for a bunch of bloodthirsty fairies in The Watchers.
The Watchers is a 2024 American supernatural horror film written and directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan in her directorial debut, produced by M. Night Shyamalan, and based on the 2021 novel by A.M. Shine. A young artist gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland, where after finding shelter, she becomes trapped along three strangers stalked by mysterious creatures each night. It has a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes with a critical consensus that states, heavy on eerie mood, but undone by an obtuse script. The Watchers can only hold the gaze for so long before tedium sets in. It has a 51% as the audience score.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So, Stephanie, have you seen The Watchers before you watched it for the podcast?
No, I haven't. I was surprised that it was fairies, but I wasn't disappointed because, you know, it's a lot better than your typical monster in the woods story, I guess.
Because they're fairies?
Creatively, yeah.
Creatively?
Creatively. But, yeah, there are issues.
Yeah. Did you like it?
I thought it was a unique story, but kind of similar to like a changeling situation, though, as well. So, kind of 50-50 on it. How about you?
Overall, I think it was okay. When I was watching it, it started, I had like no interest. And then at one point, my interest peaked like really high. I was like, ooh, what's happening? And then it plummeted again.
Oh, no.
So it was very towards the middle-ish when she kind of gets there initially. And when she gets to the Coup, that's when my like interest really peaked. And then it kind of just like kind of flatlined at the end. There's plot issues.
Character issues.
Character issues. Things that don't quite make sense.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's interesting at least.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like give it points for creativity, because out of this scenario, like something in the woods is out there to get you. There could have been so many like stereotypical zombies or whatever. And fairies is a unique choice, I think.
See, I didn't think so.
Really? Okay.
It was like fairies again, like
again.
Well, it's just like fairies isn't like a unique concept. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, it's a fairy. Like, I know what a fairy is. I've heard of fairies a bunch. In my opinion, like, I was like, okay. I almost feel like it would have been, granted, it's based off a book, so there's only so much you could do about that. But it could have just been a nameless creature. But I will say the reason I guess I wasn't so surprised is because of the call that you and Charlie got me on. Because I was like, this is like, I feel like Call on a small scale.
Kind of.
In the woods, where they're not being called, but like, it's these vengeful, evil fairies.
Yes.
Like, I was like, this is giving me vibes. Like, if they made a Call movie, like.
Yeah. Honestly, Charlie and I watched it together. And as soon as it ended, he was like, man, Call would be a really good movie. But,
yeah,
but not saying that this is a good movie.
No, it's not the worst thing, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
But it gave me those vibes, is my point. But like, yeah, evil fairies who want to kill people. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Yeah, this
is like a scaled down version of The Call. Read The Call; it's very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're talking about The Call, like the audience knows what we're talking about, but it's a really good book that has to do with vengeful fairies in Ireland.
It's like by Peadar O'Guilin or something like that. You'll know if it's Peter O something. But
yeah, it was good.
The Call is a little vague, but
yeah, I ended up really enjoying it. Although I will say, I kind of want to read the book of this though, because I wonder if the book is
a little bit better at like fleshing the characters out and
which I'm sure it is,
the history with the fairies and stuff.
Yeah, because again, like I was very interested in the middle. It wasn't necessarily the fact that they were fairies that made me uninterested, but it was just like how it kind of ended and how it played out. So I wonder how the book handled it. So I'd be curious to read the book.
Yeah. I'd be curious as well. I also just want to know, like, if they can't get out of the forest, like, why bother changing into people? Like, to fool themselves, to put on plays for each other? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's one of those
today
things.
I'm this character.
Is it for the event they do? I don't know. Like, what are we? They're just curious. They have nothing else better to do. Yeah, it's all.
I need to know their motive.
They don't got one. They don't know.
Just become people.
Why not? Like, that's the last thing you want to become, though, guys. Like, come on. You don't want to
really
be human.
Think it through. It's not worth it. As soon as that fairy has to pay their first bill, they'll be like, wow, I regret everything.
A mortgage? What do you mean you have to pay for electricity? You get taxed? For what?
You have to pay for water? It comes out of the ground.
You think.
Yeah. Well, are you ready to get into the plot?
I am.
We start off being told that there is a forest in Ireland that does not appear on any map that draws in lost souls, and no one can say exactly what lies inside, because those that go in never come back out. Ooh, spooky.
Oh, also very spooky.
It kind of gives me Okigahara vibes, the suicide forest in Japan, just because of the whole, like, if you go in and if you go off the trail or something, you're doomed. So we then see a man running through the woods past a point of no return sign trying to get help. He is eventually brought back to the same sign just as all the birds leave the forest at nightfall. He hears a rumbling, climbs up a tree, but loses his footing and falls. And it's like a owl fall. Like, you hear his body hit. I'm like, he's dead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He should not be alive.
Yeah. Injured, he crawls to a knife in his bag, but is soon attacked and carried away down a burrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We then cut to Mina, who is an American immigrant working in a pet shop in Galway, Ireland, with some serious baggage.
Not physically baggage, but like mental baggage.
We gotta, maybe he needs a therapist or something.
Probably.
Yeah. She harbors constant guilt and shame as she accidentally caused her mother's death 15 years ago and is estranged from her sister Lucy. We learned that the three of them were driving somewhere. Mina had her hands out the window and her mother yelled at her not to, rolled out the window and got Mina's fingers stuck. Mina screams and her mother turns back to look at her, missing an oncoming vehicle, and is killed in the crash.
Oops.
Yeah, it kind of seems like both of them were being kind of dicks in the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously wasn't Mina's fault per se, but that whole situation was so avoidable. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, Mina's being a little brat.
Why can't the kid have her hands out the window? But, like, also, why can't the kid listen? Like,
right, exactly. I was like, okay, I don't know. Also, keep your eyes on the road a little bit.
Yeah, you can never turn, like, fully around. Don't do that.
Let me just turn my body a complete 180, not look at the road for at least a good 5 seconds, and then, we should be fine, right?
Yeah.
Nothing could possibly happen on the road.
And European roads are so teeny tiny. There is not, like, 2 lanes. That's, like, maybe a lane, maybe even half a lane. And you're just sharing it with another car, and you're like, I hope we don't die. Like,
let's hope for the best. Nothing.
And this is just a normal day, not when you have an annoying kid in the background, I guess.
Right. So, yeah, it was a very unfortunate incident that really just could have been avoided.
For sure. At work, Mina's boss tasked her with delivering a valuable yellow bird to a Belfast zoo. Also, I thought with all of her baggage, because, it's a little bit slower on how much information is given to us about her whole situation with her mom and sister. But her boss comes up to her and says, like, hey, I don't know if you're ready to go out yet or something like that, making it seem as if like someone just died and like she's getting back into the swing of it. So I wonder why he said that. Maybe
he meant like you're still new to the job and not ready to make a trip.
Maybe, but it felt like very like, oh, I don't want to pressure you to do something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Mina takes the bird home with her, instantly starts talking to it as if it's judging her, and tells it, try not to die. A phrase the parrot repeats relentlessly throughout this movie.
Was this the part where she was in the car still? She's like trauma dumping to this bird, and I'm like, this is such a stupid way to give background, because this was their attempt. I'm like, bitch, that bird don't care. That bird don't know you. And like, really, who would actually do that to a bird? I don't know. I felt so... It was so glaringly obvious they were just trying to do some exposition. And they're like, let's talk to the bird.
Yes, that'll make sense.
I don't know. It seems so off to me.
Yeah, like she could have just easily woken up from like a nightmare or something about this car accident, and then we'd know, based on like maybe a phone call with her sister. But no, we have to have her talking to this bird relentlessly about like, don't look at me like that. Like, I'm not a good person. And I'm like, the bird doesn't give a shit. Like,
I know. It's like also dream sequences like that are also seen as like a lazy way to do that. But I would have preferred that, I think, than her talking to this stupid ass bird. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here.
The thing that kills me, though, about the flashbacks with her and her sister are obviously, they can't get Dakota Fanning legit when she was younger. But it clearly looks like her and her twin are fraternal twins. But then in the end, we eventually do meet the sister, and it's just Dakota Fanning. Again. So they're playing like a Parent Trap thing, but like they were not identical as children.
No. I guess that little girl couldn't do both. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, well, when we get to the ending, I'll say that I missed that part because I was like, what's going on here?
Okay, yeah, so she tells the bird, try not to die, a phrase the parrot repeats relentlessly throughout the movie before going out for the night. While she's out, we learn that Mina is so uncomfortable with her true self that she wears wigs and gives false names when she meets men at bars.
It's almost like an attempt at some parallels to what happens later.
Mm-hmm. The next morning...
So unimpressed. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we all saw it.
We all saw it coming.
The next morning on the way to Belfast, her car breaks down in the middle of the forest, and she has lost signal. She names the parrot Darwin and journeys into the woods for help, but instantly gets turned around and loses track of her car. She hears voices and sees flashes of children running until she is approached by an older woman named Madeline, who tells Mina to follow her if she values her life.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And I was like, all right, lady.
Yeah. Some old lady comes up to me in the middle of a spooky forest after literally losing my car. And she says, come with me. I'm like, okay. If I value my life.
I guess so. Madeline leads her to a bunker-like building called the Coup and introduces her to the two other occupants, Daniel and Sierra. Madeline orders the group to stand in front of a mirrored window as she explains that the strange noises coming from outside are from the mysterious entities called the Watchers that come to observe the group every night.
This is where I started getting really interested. I thought this concept was like really interesting because I was like so curious as to what was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they start clapping for her.
I know. That's
like so
weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then they do give you like an outside view a little bit. Like you can't see like what's watching them, but you can see like how it looks to them outside. And it looks like they're kind of like on like a stage set almost in a way. So
yeah, because it's a mirror on their side, but it's like a two-way mirror. But from the outside, you can see directly in everything they're doing.
Yeah. Madeline is clearly the stern leader of the group and explains the rules of living in the coop. They must stay inside at night, otherwise the Watchers will kill them, and no one should enter the burrows, the underground tunnels where the Watchers retreat during the day, because of their aversion to sunlight. At first, Mina plans just to stay the night and try to leave in the morning, but when she tries to go off on her own, she's instantly lost again, and the group comes to lead her back to the coop. She quickly learns their way of life, spending the day doing chores like hunting and laundry, and spending the night acting natural to entertain the Watchers. And I'm like, when do they sleep? Like,
right. Well, they do sleep, but
odd.
Yeah, it's just also they're just like sitting around. Like, it's not entertaining. Like, if I was the Watchers, I'd be like, do something. Like, let's go. You know, it could be like Big Brother.
That's kind of funny, too, because they are watching like a reality show dating show or something like that. But it seems to be like they only have one season because they're like reciting the lines. Yeah,
what they should do. If I was a Watcher, this is what I would do. I would wait for a whole bunch of people to get in there. I wouldn't kill them, even if they're out at night. I let them, whatever. Once we hit a certain number, I would make them vote them out. And then kill them when they're out the door. And then it's way more entertaining. You could see like alliances form and see what happens. That'd be great.
Yeah. Survivor meets the Watchers. Very fun.
That's what I'm saying. If I were a Watcher, they're doing it wrong, Right.
And then it also encourages that hopefully you would get more people into the forest to change up the cast.
Yeah.
Instead of just having the same tired characters.
Yeah,
like bored.
I'm over Sierra. She's boring. Like, come on, we need new faces.
Yeah. The group tells Mina that they have been stranded there for several months, Madeline being the longest staying member, and Sierra explains at one point that her husband John went for help 5 days ago and hasn't yet returned, but isn't quite accepting the fact that he's most likely dead. Like, she's still holding, like, yeah, he'll come back, he just went for help. I'm like, but it's pretty obvious, like, if you go outside at night, dead.
Yeah. You'd think, but perhaps not.
Yeah. There's like a little bit of like a trauma-based something that's going on that's like affecting their judgment, because there's some weird things that they all do at one point that you're like, oh, why?
Yeah, that is called poor writing. I'm just kidding.
As time goes on, Mina challenges Madeline's rules, a trait she maintained from childhood, and with Daniel's assistance, journeys into the burrow.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Mina, you idiot.
It's where they all are. Like, she tells them that's where they go sleep during the day.
At this point, she didn't necessarily believed in any of it. But I'm like, bitch, who was clapping for you at the beginning? There's something out there.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely things out there.
Like, I don't want to know. And she's like, let me go in this hole that's like way, way underground. And this should be fine.
And she definitely knows that the forest is in some way magical, though, because she's gotten lost twice already.
Right. I'm like, Mina, stop. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
I didn't understand.
There, she narrowly escapes a watcher, but does retrieve a bicycle and a camcorder from them. They set up the camcorder outside of the coop, and that night the watchers are a little more aggressive, which Madeline understands to mean that one of them broke the rules. And soon John appears outside naked and asking for help. Sierra wants to let him in, no questions asked, but the group convinces her to ask him something only John would know. She asks him what book she's reading, but he doesn't remember and is then dragged away. And she's like, I should have let him in. I really should have. I'm like, no. Well, clearly it wasn't him, though.
But interestingly enough, I think in the book it's more explicit that was him.
Really? Mm-hmm. You think?
Well, that's from what I did some digging on that. I think it was him, actually. Also, if you notice, later we find out, like, they transform into people. Spoiler. There was, like, he was perfectly transformed. There was no, like, if you see, like, later, there's always a little something off with them. Mm-hmm. But he was fine. So, like I said, I didn't read the book, but I think in the book it's almost more, they were, like, torturing John to get to them because they broke the rules.
Oh, you think so? Maybe, because I was like,
but that's what I read. So that's what somebody thinks.
Because I rationalized, since he was naked, it was obviously one of them transforming into him because they couldn't like match clothes or didn't have clothes to put on them or something.
Yeah, so, but like I said, from what I read, they brought him there to torture him as like, because you broke the rules, now you get to listen to him be tortured or something like that. But I think in the movie, they don't explicitly say one way or the other if it's him or not. They're just like, no. So take that as you will. I don't know.
Yeah, I just find it hard to believe that he survived 5 nights.
Exactly.
Like if it would happen like a day after, maybe. But
also that raises the question, do they don't kill you right away then? They could just like take you back to where they live and like mess with you for a little bit.
That's very the call.
Right, exactly. They're fairies. And which is actually way worse than just dying.
Yeah, right. Rather be dead real quick than have to do any of that.
Because if that was actually him, that implies that they stripped him naked and have been keeping him alive for all these days. Because he gets caught at the beginning. So it implies
that does make sense, though, with what we know about fairies and horror, though, too, like with the call. Like they are very like, we torture for fun, then basically pushing them to their limits until they can't no more.
Right. Exactly. So who knows? Like I said, in the movie, it doesn't say one way or the other. But if I were them, I would not have let him in either because I would have assumed it was them, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think they made the right choice. Unfortunately, if that was John, that really sucks for him. But I feel like also they could have gotten in there if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
Because they could have gotten in.
They're kind of like holding back, if you ask me.
That's what I'm saying. Like they could have gotten in if they really, really wanted to.
Yeah, we see it later. They technically do if they want.
Exactly. So
they're just like, no, as long as you appease us, you can live in your nice little box. Like,
yeah, okay, sure.
The Watchers crack the mirror, and Madeline returns the stolen items to the burrow the next day to appease them. The group grows restless and agitated at each other as winter falls. Daniel has an odd moment of rebellion against Madeline and locks her and Mina out of the coop one night, forcing the pair to hide in a rotting bush to cover their scent from the Watchers. This was the oddest thing. I was like, I don't see why you're doing this. Like, he gets like a little mad at her, and then he's like, nah, they deserve to die.
Yeah, and like
it was like a disagreement over hunting or something like that. She was yelling at him that he wasn't doing enough to hunt for them because they were running out of food.
Yeah, I mean, up until this point, you see Madeline being very like protective and motherly almost. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, he's like, you must die. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was,
and, I found it funny too. Like, he locks them out of the coop, and then Sierra just stands there and I guess, and is just like, yeah, I'm not going to help open the door to let them in. You can hear her kind of like reasoning with him, but not really doing anything to help the situation.
Although I will say at this point, they wouldn't let her open the door for potentially her husband. So if I were her, I would not open the door.
Everyone can die.
Well, not that, but like, okay, well, I wasn't allowed to let him in. So what's to say? We're in the same exact situation. So why would I let you in?
I guess that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're pleading to come in. I'm like, well, we just did this the other day, except now it's reverse. And now you want in? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Right.
Like, sorry, you said these are your rules. I'm not letting you in.
Yeah, that's true. While they're hidden under this brush, they witness many Watchers appear out of the forest, giant humanoid creatures that imitate the coop's occupants and react angrily to Madeline and Mina's absence. Madeline and Mina make a run for it back to the coop as the Watchers search the forest for them. Daniel lets them back in as the Watchers start to attack the coop, and the group escapes into a hidden underground study. There, Madeline explains that the Watchers are fairy-like creatures that shape-shift to try to better mimic humans.
And also, like, I have so many problems with this part. Like, again, he lets them back in.
Yeah.
Why?
And they've been out in the forest at night for several hours, I guess. At least an hour.
And Mina's like, you'll regret this for the rest of your life because, trying to tie it back to what happened to her. And I'm like, lady, listen, there is literally nothing you could have said to me to let you into this building.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're right. And then he lets her in. I'm
right.
Like, I don't know.
I think it's the story because she says that she killed her mom. And I think that was real enough that they were like, well, why would a Watcher say that kind of thing? But I think that was the reasoning.
Fair? I don't know. I was like,
no, thank you.
No, ma'am.
Fuck you and your mom. I don't believe it. Look.
Honestly, that would probably be me at that point. Like, I don't know you, Mina. We just met.
Right. In the study is additional food and accommodations, and Mina uncovers various video diaries on a computer from Professor Rory Kilmartin, the Coop's creator. So they start to go through like several videos, and I'm like, why aren't we just watching all of them? Like, I would watch, they're like skipping around as if like they're YouTube videos that they're not interested in. Like,
I really want to listen to episode 7, but not
right,
6.
Right. Like only the first and the last one, I'll catch the middle somewhere.
We'll connect the dots.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, and especially like you've been holed up in like this little room for several months at this point. Nothing to watch. Why not? Why not watch all the videos of the crazy professor man?
You'd think.
Yeah, but they only watched several of them. There's like hundreds. And learn that the professor built the coop on the blood of labor workers he tricked into staying outside after dark so then he could study the creatures. I'm like, bitch.
Because, yeah, that's fucked up. But also, like, when we were like learning about this, that was my first thought. I'm like, how did you build this thing?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Also, so he would have had to send them out on their own to build this, because it's not like he could stay there overnight or anything.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right? Because he would have been like, okay, go build. Like, he maybe was there during the day and then like buggered out. And then it just
But once you're in, you're not leaving, though. Like, people get confused and they can't leave the forest. So I would assume the same would happen to him. So once he's in, he's not going back.
Yeah, true. But then also, like, how did these people know where to go? Like, it makes no sense.
I guess that's true.
Like, go into the forest and you'll maybe come across a potential site.
The start of a building. I won't be there. Eat outside at dark. Yeah, you do that.
Like, the logistics of building this building doesn't actually check out.
Yeah. Unless, like, they built so quickly the first day where he was, like, at least enclosed and he just shut the door on them. And he was like, I'll have my next 20 laborers come tomorrow. I'll send my ad again.
Yeah. He had a small army of 1,000 people to make this bunker in a day. Because, like, there's no way any group of people could build this in a day.
Yeah.
Enough for him to stay there.
Right. Makes very little sense.
Yes. Although, I don't want to jump too far ahead in the plot. There's a boat situation. So he does know. Well, we'll get there. Just know it's very confusing.
Yeah. As time goes on, he claims to have seen several Watchers transform into not quite right versions of people, and even himself. But the more they studied him, the more accurate their interpretations grew, which scared him, hence the mirrored glass, so those looking out of the coop couldn't see. He admits to seeing one portray themselves as a child who seemed different, almost innocent, and theorized that with their shape-shifting abilities, one could cheat death. And I disagree, because, like, that's not...
cheating death.
No, that's not cheating death. That's just making a clone of someone that you lost. Like,
it's not them.
And it's not cheating death. Cheating death is if you get to live.
Right. Because now if you die, that just means there's a fairy that looks like you. That's not you.
Using your face, yeah.
You're dead, sir. You're still dead.
Yeah. No. No, they must have really liked the line, one could even cheat death, but I was like, doesn't pertain to this situation.
Yeah, that's not correct. That's
right.
Not here. Not now.
Yes. In one video, Professor Kilmartin confesses to having captured a Watcher and bonded with it, but in his last video, he appears grave. He believes that he's lost his humanity. He tells whoever's watching that he left a boat near where the birds leave the woods so they can escape, and asks if they make it out to go and destroy all his research at the university to stop others from coming to find the Watchers. He then leaves upstairs to shoot himself and the creature. I feel like we just didn't, because of their whole, like, clicking around the videos and stuff, we didn't really see his descent into why this was all of a sudden wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He just, like, like, I even, like, scrolled back in the movie to make sure he's just like, I feel devoid of humanity. And I'm like, I mean, you already built this place by killing a bunch of people, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why now that you are friends with this Watcher, it makes it worse. Like,
I think it's just the isolation of him being there and then being surrounded by these things and them doing the things they're doing. I mean, that's just, just imagine being alone for that long. But then also in a forest full of really crazy fairy creature things.
Yeah. And I mean, well, he's bonded with this Watcher, so I'm assuming, though, like, he's been teaching the Watcher to become more human in a sense. Maybe that's why he feels devoid of humanity, because he just feels like he's helping her blend in.
Yeah. This Watcher's like, let go. I don't want to be doing school. What are you doing? It's like that reluctant teenager in class, like, just doesn't want to be there.
You could actually just let me out with the others. I don't want to play. Like,
right. I don't want to be here. This isn't a fun learning opportunity for me.
This isn't the Watchers go to college.
Right.
The next morning, the group follows the professor's directions and uses Darwin to find the boat in a river at the edge of the forest.
Wait, is Darwin the bird?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he forgot.
Yeah. He just kind of intermittently says, try not to die.
Thank you.
And yeah, you're like, thanks, this is great. I really see the point of having this bird in the story.
Yeah.
On their way, they see a stone marker in the forest floor depicting the fairies, and Madeline explains that humans had warred against the fairies, who lost their wings, were driven underground, and imprisoned in the forest.
A call.
Yeah.
That's what happens in the call.
Yeah. Should we explain what happens in the call since we've referenced it pretty much the whole time?
Just like a little, like a 1 or 2 sentence taste of what this book is about.
Okay. The Call is a book based in Ireland, and it's been closed off because the Fae have basically made it an isolation country because like no boats can come in and out. Like planes will go missing if they try to go in because they are trying to get back at humans for basically taking their land and all kinds of stuff.
Same idea.
Yeah. So in this book instance, everyone will receive the call at one point and they will just be forced into the fairies' land where they are imprisoned, and the fairies will hunt them down and torture them until they die, and most people don't make it out alive. It's like a 10% chance of coming back.
Yeah. Although I will say, I don't know which book came first, this or The Call. So not to say this, I'm not saying this ripped off The Call in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying there's similarities.
Yes, for sure. Oh, one more thing. I also thought like I was yelling at Madeline when they stopped to talk about the fairies being imprisoned. I was like, but it is dusk now. So can we get going? Like,
right. Now's not the time for another exposition dump. At least it's not to a bird.
Yes. Once they reach the professor's boat, it's nearly nightfall, and Daniel separates from the group because he sees John and goes to help him. However, this is a watcher mimicking John, and it kills Daniel before the girls can get to him. You good?
Stupid.
Yeah. The rest of the group boards the rowboat just as all the watchers gather on the edge of the forest, Daniel now included, and they sail through the night to civilization. When they go ashore, they see a bus that stops and offers to take them to the next city.
When I tell you, I thought this was the end of the movie, and I saw there was still half an hour left. I was like, about what? They escaped.
This is a classic Shyamalan thing. Like every time they reach the end, they're like, but 20 more minutes though, please. Like,
I was like, this is surely the end of this movie.
Yeah.
It was not.
Just a little bit more time. You can flesh some more stuff out here. Mina later travels to the professor's university. Under the guise of being his niece, she enters his entirely preserved office to destroy his research. He has like 2 full rooms worth of books and stuff. Nothing's been touched. I'm like, who preserves this?
They set up a little fund. I'm like, who cares?
What students do this?
What college students cares that much about any professor ever?
About their missing professor, I guess.
About fairy? What? No, that would be cleared out tomorrow. Like,
like a year maybe, but...
And it was just so easy to get in there. I am definitely his niece. No.
And she like casually picks up a photo and like, yes, Uncle Rory. Like,
good old Uncle Rory, who I know so well.
Thanks, Mina. You're doing great.
Slay.
There she learns that fairies and humans used to coexist, with fairies being considered gods, but they eventually mated with humans, creating offspring that could withstand daylight. Along with the professor's notebooks, Mina finds a picture of Madeline and learns that she was his late wife that died prior to the construction of the Coup. The Madeline they had known in the forest is actually the watcher that Professor Kilmartin captured to have a second chance with his deceased wife. Yeah.
So I just imagine him showing him pictures of her like, this.
Could you do this?
Do this one. Look like her.
Right.
I'm just like, wait. Okay.
And Madeline Watcher is like, okay, I guess. Like,
sure.
Do you have any video? Like, this isn't really doing it for me.
Yeah, what does she look like from the back? Like, how long's her hair? What's her butt look like? You know? Like,
yeah, okay. I need very specific images. Mina quickly travels to Sierra to warn her that they released a watcher, but the Sierra she is speaking with is actually Madeline in disguise. And once Sierra arrives, Madeline knocks her unconscious. She attacks Mina, recounts that she was mocked by the other watchers for being able to withstand the daylight, because she has to be an outcast amongst the watchers.
Listen, they made fun of her for being better than them.
Yes.
Because, she could survive in the sun.
Mm-hmm. And they were like, no, that's not right.
Isn't that everything like they would want to be able to do.
Yeah. Honestly, Madeline should have been really popular with the male watchers.
No, they're like, we need to make fun of her. Stat.
Yeah, she sucks. And she plans to kill Mina so she can replace her. Mina reveals that she learned in the professor's office that Madeline is half human and should put aside her hatred for them, as there could be others like herself out there. Madeline warns that she hopes Mina's right, spreads her wings and departs. Sometime later, Mina has kept Darwin as a pet, reconciled with her sister Lucy, and is now able to be a proper aunt to her 2 nephews. Meanwhile, right outside, Madeline, disguised as a child, watches Mina.
This whole ending, I hate.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it.
I agree. It was a lot extra for nothing.
Dude, first of all, Mina should go into politics or debate. She's able to get anyone to do anything. Mm-hmm. Get her into the Coup, convince this mythical creature to like, don't do what you whole like really set out to do.
Right. Your whole mission in life.
She's like,
change your mind.
No, these fairies should be like, I do not care what humans say. They should just, just bloodthirsty no matter what. And Madeline's like, I mean, she is half human, so okay, whatever. But what the hell? Mina's just like, no, wait. But have you thought about like?
Have you thought about why? Why you are able to walk in the sunlight? Like,
oh my God. And then I kind of alluded to this earlier. When they panned to another Mina, I thought that was Madeline for a second. I was so confused, or another watcher.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that was her sister because, again, when they were younger,
they did not look alike.
And then when the whole movie, you're kind of talking about how watchers look like anyone, you can't just
have like subtle abnormalities sometimes too, so it could look like somebody that didn't study her well enough, and
right,
because she has a scar on her face. That's the only difference.
Right. So now you're like, wait a minute, is that a watcher or is that her sister? And it took me a second to realize that was her sister. I was like, oh, I hated it.
The funny thing about this too, like I use Wikipedia to see like how they block off the plot and stuff like that. Wikipedia thought the ending was Mina was now a mom with the 2 boys that came in. I'm like, no, that's definitely not it. Mina does not get to be a mom.
Exactly. It's very weird. And I think they tried to make the themes connect too much to the point where like, wait, is that her sister or is that a watcher?
Yeah, they definitely went too far into the ending that it feels more absurd. Like, Madeline could have always left. Why was she hanging out in the Coup? Like, what was the point of that? Like,
right. Yeah, exactly. And she's so like motherly to these people that there's no way she wouldn't be resentful at all. Like she could try to play it off to some degree. And like, was her whole plan to escape before? Like, she's playing along with. I don't get
that. Like, change back, and then the other watchers will know it's you. Like, it didn't sound like she was completely ostracized. It just sounds like they made fun of her.
Right. Exactly. So I don't know.
You think it's like watching? It's like the rest of your school watches a girl like pretend to be a foreign exchange student or something. Like they're like, Madeline, why don't you get back out here? Like, she's like, we're all out here.
She's like, I've been abandoned by all of you. They're like, okay, Madeline. And then
Madeline on her soapbox again. Like,
do you think then when they were like outside of the Coup that if they caught her, they'd kill her? Do they not know it's her?
Yeah.
Because she was taken by the guy. It's not like they drove her to the Coup. Like, it just...
Right. So technically, once he was dead, too, she could have just gone back out there. So I don't know if, he had trained her enough to be Madeline. She was like, I am Madeline. Like, but like, we don't know enough about this. Like, this would be definitely a good twist ending or something like that. If we saw it through Madeline's perspective after she was captured or something like that, that would have been really interesting. I would be interested in spending another 20 minutes on. But no, we get this weird, like...
Look at Mina.
Yeah.
I didn't like Mina very much.
I did not care for Mina either. She was very wooden.
Yeah. I don't know. So, unclear of what the whole, like, thought was here. I don't know, in my opinion. So that was that. It was the Watchers. I feel like it should have ended when they escaped.
Yeah, especially if they weren't going to go through with like Madeline's background. So yeah, agreed. Do you want to get into rating?
I do.
So initially, I thought maybe they would be a little bit more creepy. So I thought maybe like a 5, I guess.
Oh, really? I put it as a 7. Like the first rating is there's something behind me. It's not correct.
No, I would put this at like a 3.
Really? We're in the family fun time category?
I guess so.
Stephanie, really? See, I'd keep it at like a 5.
Really? Okay. I'll move it up to a 4 because, like if like kids would be scared, I think. But especially with like the whole concept of they could be anybody. That could be creepy to a child. But
I feel like we're seeing Stephanie being a little less scared of things.
I'm evolving.
She's like a 3. I was like, there's some good jump scares in here.
Yeah, no.
Which, I mean... jump scares, however you feel about them, cheap or whatever, but like I think it was a little much for a kid to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, I would say a 4 then.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'll keep it a 5, I think.
Okay.
They're creepy enough, I would say. But I feel where the movie gets kind of bogged down is like when they escape. And this whole like trying to tie it into like her past, and I feel like they could have just focused on the Watchers being these creepy entities in the woods, and it would have been way better than trying to make this big meaning behind it. I don't know.
I think I would have maybe done a 5 if they hadn't done the whole scene with Mina convincing Madeline not to kill her, basically, because I was like, oh, you can just easily talk to them rationally and be like, no, you shouldn't, and they'll be like, oh, you're right.
Well, so in my head, I'm justifying that because she's half human.
Yeah, I guess
so. I feel like if you're trying to convince a full-blown fairy, that they'd be like, no, nah, child, and just kill him.
I guess that's true. But still,
yeah.
I don't know. I think it made it less fearsome to me because, like, she was so easily backed off. Like,
yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. But I think the creature design and the concept of them morphing but looking a little off is kind of creepy. So I'll bump it up just a little bit. But it's not a very scary movie. I would say it almost leans more fantasy than horror.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I could have been more on board with the whole 5 thing too, especially if we would have seen more interpretations of them like getting it wrong or something like that. Like if they could like turn off the mirrored wall to show her what it was actually happening outside. Also, that could have convinced her a lot earlier that something's out there. And like it'd be like, look what's happening.
Like look at this.
We're only gonna see it for 5 minutes, but look what happens.
Yeah.
Then you'll be grateful for this mirror.
Exactly. You don't want to see what's out there.
Yeah. So,
but it's not a very scary movie. All said and done.
We should have focused more like on actually what the Watchers looked like. I think to up the scary scale if we really wanted to.
I could see that. But you could always make the argument that not seeing them makes it scarier. So.
I will say the shadows when they're hiding in the bush are creepy because you're just seeing like these giant like skeletal looking frames of things just standing up and watching the coup. That was creepy. But yeah, then that was really the only thing you got.
Yeah. Then we try to
aside from Madeline being like all ghouly and being like, I don't know, I guess I could go find other people.
Oh, okay, bye. Yeah. God, that ending. Chop off that ending. Get rid of it. You don't need it.
Just stop at the bus. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show and listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful. Or if you're watching the video version, subscribing to our YouTube channel is also super helpful.
Yes, you can like and comment on those videos or on Spotify as well, and make suggestions on what we should watch and review next. And you can find us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.